Before I begin, I will say that I made one or two changes off camera. I thought about the fact that I'm going to be giving him leather boots under his armor, and it doesn't make a lot of sense for this part to be leather and this part to have a bit of metal sticking below the leather. So I thought maybe I'll just remove the metal down here and just have the entire bottom be leather sole. Now I'm going to start with the cloth bit that is covering up the back of his helmet. I've placed this in a layer just so I can turn off and on again so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to create the rough outline of it, turn off B, from the edges on his helmet. So I'm going to extrude and pull this out a bit, enough that I can imagine this would be able to drape down to this part down here without going too crazy, maybe a little bit more. There. And now I've got them created. I'm going to select these faces, edit mesh, extract. Now it's a separate object. I'm going to, you can see right here, this is parented to that. I'm going to unparent that with Shift P and delete history on it. Also freeze transformations just to get cleaned up a bit. Now I need to have edges going this way because I'm going to turn this into cloth, and cloth needs geometry in order to bend. Let's give it 20. Too many. Let's go 15. I try to keep the geometry kind of even if possible. So if you ever get this weird thing where it just has faces or other components selected for no reason, just select everything and then deselect it. So I want to have this a bit rounder than it is right now, so I'm going to go to Mesh, Smooth, and now it's a bit smoother. And I want this to drape down from here onto this piece right here. So I'm going to first make sure I've delayed history, and then I'm going to switch from modeling to FX. I'm going to turn both these objects into end-cloth passive colliders. This will go something for the cloth to collide with. Then I'm going to end cloth again with this piece of fabric selected and turn this into end cloth, just regular end cloth. And let's see here. Presets, if I set this to some kind of fabric, like say chiffon, and these are all the settings for that. If I change to anything else in here, airbag, replace, that changes these settings in my presets. Chiffon is a fabric, but in order to make sure that this falls down quickly and smoothly, I'm going to make a couple more adjustments. First of all, I'm going to give it more mass so it falls faster. And I'm going to reduce the the compression resistance and the stretch resistance. It'll fall really easily. I also want to make sure that the top part up here stays attached to where this little circle is. So I'm going to start by selecting the vertices from there to there. And this is mirrored, it's going to get both sides, like that. And under end constraints, I'm going to give this a transform constraint. That's going to lock those vertices in place. Next, I want to make sure I've got enough frames down here. Right now I've got this set to 2,000 frames. That should be more than enough. And this little red bar at the very, very bottom of the the frames down here, that shows how much of the animation has been pre-calculated. If I start playing this, it'll start falling. This stops calculating. Problem is, as soon as it runs out of animation to display. So I have to wait until this completely falls down. I might, oh, or one more thing that I want to do with this. I've got a collisions right here. This has a thickness to it. If I turn on solver display collision thickness, this yellow right here, that is how thick this is around itself, and that can cause it to self-collide in various ways, self-collision thickness, things like that. So if I reduce my self-collide a little bit, so it's less likely to jam up against itself, and maybe reduce its collision thickness a little bit, so it's a little easier for it to fall into other objects without sitting on top of them too much. Sorry about that. That's just the showing what it's doing down here. So hopefully that'll fall a bit more smoothly. Turn that back off. Don't need to see that. And now just a matter of waiting to see how long it takes to show me something I can actually use. And sometimes I'll decide I don't like how it looks, go back and then change something else. Probably the dynamic properties somewhere might reduce the resistances even more, depending on how it falls around the neck. See that? You can see right here that is falling through it. So maybe I'll go here. I'm going to give this slightly more collision thickness to help hold this up, and maybe some friction and stickiness so it sticks to it a bit better rather than just sliding right off of it. You can see that's staying attached a little bit better now. Possibly too much, it's creating a little bit of weird ripples right here. Reduce the stickiness a little bit. Just have it friction so that it doesn't slide so easily. And this is the fun with dynamics. You spend most of your time trying something, waiting to see if it works, realizing it doesn't work, and then trying something slightly different. Oop, no, slides off it too easily. Once again, let me chuck the friction up a whole bunch. If that doesn't work, I'll try increasing the stickiness instead. Ooh, it's doing it again. Right? Hey, that's not too bad after it's done. Give that more time to fall around the neck and see how it looks. I don't like how this is sticking out so far right here, so I might go back to the beginning. I'm going to reduce the stretch and compression even more, all the way down to zero, maybe. See if that lets it fall down a bit smoother. If I know that worked for that much, I might bring it back up just a little bit to try and bring back some of the ripples, because what happens is that. Bring the stretch resistance back up a little bit. See that now? It was the compression resistance that was creating the big wings on the sides, so I'm gonna increase it just a tiny, tiny bit. I'll chuck my maths up a little bit, because it was floating an awful lot at the edges. See, now with my compression resistance just a tiny bit higher, I'm getting some ripples in here. I want some ripples, but I don't want this giant one right here. The little ripples gives it some form and shape that makes it more interesting than just being a flat surface. Too much gets in the way and makes it stick way over here. I may just want to give it some time and see how long it takes to lay down completely flat along the neck. And the good news is, if one side turns out the way I like it and the other side doesn't, I can always cut in half and mirror it. In fact, I'll probably mirror it anyway, just make it easy to work with in the future. I'm going to take my compression down even lower, I think. Let's try 2. I'm going to be cutting so much time out of the video just waiting for this thing to finish. Still poking up too much. Let's try 1. I'm just going to keep cranking this down until I like the way it looks. I don't want to bring it all the way down to 0, but I might have to. Take a look. It refuses to go any further than this. I'm going to take that down to 0.1. I'm going to reduce my stretch resistance as well. And here we go again. Well, it's getting closer, but I might have to give up on the compression entirely. I'll bring everything down a little bit. Try again. Or try. Yep. As you can see, it falls down pretty easily. But because there's almost no compression resistance at all, there are no wrinkles or ripples anywhere. I'm going to just hit duplicate on this, Control D. So I'll have one version that I know is definitely going to work. But I might grab this and try adding just a little bit more in just to see if I can get some shape to this, because it looks so boring at the moment. All right, let's check it out. And it is laying on the surface for the most part. Got a little bit of a ripple here and there. This is sticking out a bit much, but because I plan on using this as a scaffolding to build this piece right here, so it's got that angle to it, I'm not too worried about the bits that are sticking out down here. It's going to sort of slide like this over the ripples. So I'm going to use this one, I think. Control D. And I'm going to hide both of these in a layer. Hide that. And let's see here. Which side do I want to use? Because I want to make this symmetrical, just to make drawing it easier. I think I like this side more. Delete my left side. Oops, make sure to turn off that just in case. Like my left side, delete that. Back. Oh, before I do anything, I'm going to take the I might just duplicate these and throw the originals in here as well. Which one of these is that? This one, all right. That one. In case you ever need to bring those back again. And I'll go back to modeling, mesh, mirror. Do anything weird. It's all right. Do same scene as. Turn those into live surfaces. Bring this back just enough so I can see where I want that ring of fabric to go. Oops. I forgot to turn my symmetry back on. Go. There we go. Turn that off. I'll hide this in here. Windows, outliner. Find that. Straight. I'm going to hide that too. There. That's about what I'm looking for, I think. This out a little bit. And honestly, fabric like this is not really worth adding too much thickness, but I may extrude it inwards a little bit. Mesh display, reverse my normals. There we go. Hmm. Didn't notice this. Don't like that. Pull that in a little bit. There. There we go. That should work.